Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to SST on Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, and on YouTube. Joining me today to do what we have to do. Not what we want to do, but to do what we have to do is Andrew Calagna, the designated hitter on today's show, ready to put a pin, official, into the Yankee season. And Andrew, I want to say hello. I want to say I don't know how you handled this with all that's going on in your life with moving and having a kid and one on the way. Congratulations. Wow. This must have been something you looked forward to when you finally got off your feet for 2 seconds in a move to watch the Yankees, and all you saw was disappointment, my friend. So hello, how are you? And how are you feeling now 2 days removed from the end of the Yankee season?
Man, it's been a whirlwind of a week for myself personally. I do own a pair of Yankee Stadium seats, and when I envisioned when I purchased this home and this move that I would be sitting there watching Yankees World Series in those seats, and that is for not, my friend. I was joking in the group chat because I have no respect for the AL Central, so I knew the Yankees were going to come back and beat the Guardians. By the way, the only teams they've beaten in the playoffs since 2012 have been from the American League Central. Every other team, every other division
Is that
opponent.
true?
That is true.
They've only beaten the Twins and now Indians/Guardians, and is that it?
Yeah. Wherever they played the AL Central, those are the only teams they've beaten since 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's incredible. And again, when I knew they were going to be able to pass the Guardians, but then I was very excited about the start of the series because I was like, this is gut check time. This is where you're going to see whether or not like this team can actually do it. Where it's the team of the first half was going to show up, where they were going to show out and prove that they were legit and they weren't just a mirage. And unfortunately, we got proven wrong. And it's a tough pill to swallow because you could kind of see it coming. You could have seen it all year with IKF, and I don't know what the hell they were doing with him in the shortstop position. One night he was benched and he couldn't make a throw to first base, and then the next night in a winner take all game he's the starting shortstop again, which is crazy to me that them basically punting this position for prospects that they just didn't want to play. There you had Peraza on the roster and you're just not going to play him, I guess. It's crazy. You have one team in the Astros who develop talent and they play their talent. They had their replacement for Carl. They put in the rookie shortstop, and look what he did. He won the ALCS MVP. So it's very stark contrast, and the gap between the Yankees and the Astros is as wide as it's ever been. So
Yeah.
I can't say anymore about this series, or else I'm gonna throw up.
Well, I'm going to make you say more in a little bit, but I will jump in here for a minute. Anyone listening on the podcast app after this, or maybe before this, I don't really know yet. I haven't decided.
Mm-hmm.
There will be some basketball talk on here solo. I have some takes I need to get off about the first week of the NBA season, Knicks, and some other stuff. And if you're on YouTube, if you're watching this baseball video, check out the basketball one as well. There'll be separate videos on YouTube. But Andrew, I'm glad you went on that little soliloquy off the rip because it's important to establish kind of where you are. And, we don't even want to spend that much time here talking about the Yankees because I don't think Yankee fans can really handle it. I think at this point in time, the ebbs and flows of this season were as strenuous as almost any season you guys have gone through because there was such a high and then such a low and then the hopes of a comeback just to be chopped off at the knees by the team that's been the thorn in your side for so long now. So it's been a really, really big time whirlwind of a season for the Yankees and the Yankees fans here. And there's a lot of things now to discuss moving forward, not even having to do with the Astro series or the regular season or whatever, But to make one analogy that, you and I kind of mentioned quickly before we started recording, you think about the New York Football Giants right now and here 6-1, and you say, okay, they're doing what it takes to win. They deserve credit for those wins. Someone deserves credit for those wins, but do we actually think that they're a elite team or a team that is a true Super Bowl contender? I don't think anybody should be thinking that right now. I know you and I don't particularly think that, even though you don't want to take away the accomplishments. With the Yankees this year, this is where the analogy comes in. It wasn't that dissimilar, right? We talked about it early on this podcast that the pitching staff, especially the starters, the way they worked out in the first half of the season, having the same 5 guys go every single week, every single day, never missing a beat, no one getting hurt, was going to run out at some point. And now, guess what? The starting pitching actually stayed up way stronger than probably anybody thought it would. However, still was never going to be as good as it was in that first half of the year. The offense, we always knew that this was a struggle because Aaron Judge was putting Band-Aids on big-time scars all by himself throughout a huge chunk of the season. We knew the lineup wasn't great. The bullpen, as soon as the injury started coming and Clay Holmes didn't look like the shutdown guy he did earlier in the season, we knew that was an issue. Yet, after they went through the big-time slump and they started winning games again, a lot of people started to think, oh, this team's back on the rise. This team's back on the rise. They have a chance. They have this. They have that. If Aaron Judge does this, if Giancarlo Stanton does that, it was all pie in the sky heading into the playoffs. And in reality, some of the same exact issues that were present all year, or for the past 5 years, for that matter, reared their ugly heads again. And it was an unbalanced lineup where you relied on 2 or 3 guys to do everything and hit home runs, or else you didn't score. You heard Bob Costas say it 92 times in the ALDS. Well, now officially, there's 13 of 15 runs scored by home runs by the New York Yankees. Like every time they scored, it was a home run, which is how you win. It also could be how you lose, right? Especially when you face a pitching staff in the Astros. So all the things that were negatives that we pointed out on this podcast that fans were nervous about throughout the season, and you thought they were taped up, you thought they were fixed, it turns out they weren't. It all starts up front with the front office and Aaron Boone, and starts second following the front office is the positional players and the lineup being an issue. And then always resting on the laurels of having a great bullpen. You get a couple injuries. They didn't do enough to establish that bullpen. It was the first time in a long time, that the Yankees went into a season without the most elite bullpen they've had, like in the league, which they've had for years now. So it's almost hindsight 2020, Andrew, but it feels like we saw a lot of this coming, even if we didn't want to admit it, and we wanted to kind of close our eyes and not fully admit this team has major problems because they won 99 games, because they got off to an incredible start. And now sitting back here, it's really easy to say all these negatives, but Andrew, I ask you this, is it fair to do what I just did?
Absolutely. The offense is the biggest culprit. And I said it before the postseason started. The Yankees don't win a World Series this year. It's because the offense didn't come through, and they were so reliant on Aaron Judge and Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton, and everybody else was, Josh Donaldson has done nothing all year. IKF did nothing all year. Jose Trevino had a great first half. Was the exact hitter who everyone thought he was going to be in the second half this year. So that's 3 just big, gigantic craters of holes in your lineup spot, and then you're throwing Oswald Cabrera out in left field, where he's never played before, and he did an admirable job, and he came up with some clutch hits, but you can't tell him. I don't think any Yankee fan knew who Oswaldo Cabrera was before the beginning of the year. Gleyber Torres, there were tons of rumors about him getting traded away at the deadline. So, how much stock do you put in his position? Aaron Hicks was disappearing, and Harrison Bader came back, and he was a nice spark plug at the top of the lineup, but that's not enough offense, and it was never going to be enough offense, especially against the Astros pitching. But where I will say, where I knew the series was over before Game 4 even started, because and this point has been belated among talk radio on Monday and today. That Michael K clip that's going around here about Aaron Boone before the start of Game 4 they have like a mental wellness coach that comes in, and apparently he came up, he thought with the genius idea of, hey, let's get some tape from the 2004 ALCS. Let's FaceTime with David Ortiz, and let's use that to rouse the troops. Let's get the lowest moment in Yankee history and on the field history, and let's use that to try to motivate our guys. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Whose idea was that? And why didn't someone say, like, this is the worst idea I've ever heard? Like, man, just
So
like
crazy, it just might work, Andrew. That's the thing.
the
It's like, yeah, I'm with you, bro. I mean, listen, you can make an argument in a certain situation to learn from those low experiences, and you feel the pain and you rise from the ashes, right? That would be for the people who experienced it, not for
yeah.
people who have literally nothing to do with that series, right? Like half of the team was not even remembering baseball. Like they probably didn't even remember that live, right? Like some of these players who are 25 years old on this
Yeah.
team, they were like 7 when that happened.
Yeah.
Think they care? No, they don't. And you know what? I actually do have something, an aside to say. I saw some Yankee fans on Twitter getting mad at, was it Cabrera and Peraza taking the picture with Altuve? You see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I was a little bit salty that Yankee fans were mad about that. These
Mm.
guys are Venezuelan-born players who probably looked up to him as like the freaking
Absolutely.
GOAT baseball player of their country. They could take a freaking picture with my guy. All right. That's the least of our issues. That's the type of thing that bothers me about the Yankees here in this situation. And I think Yankee fans are even more angry than me. So I feel fine saying this. The thing about the roof, right? You get mad about the roof being open or closed or whoever the heck cares. You get mad about your teammates, or they, not that the players actually cared about that, but fans are saying, oh, you're taking pictures with the opponent, like that's weak, right? Like, no, if you're worried about that, you're worried about the wrong things, right? You're not focused on what's important. You're not.
It's such a like the worst cop out you can like possibly like say, like, oh, we lost because of roofers. And how does Aaron Boone get on a press conference afterwards? Like, yeah, the roof being open really hurt us. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And I thought, him being openly criticized by his players, that would be like the spark that would say, hey, he's lost the clubhouse here, it's time to find a new voice. And then Sports Illustrated comes out today and says Yankees confident in Reese and in keep retaining Brian Cashman and retaining Aaron Boone. And I just throw my hands up and I
It's
say,
just like it's such a. Oh,
what
sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, just I throw my hands up and I say, what else? How many times can this person fail with this core of players? How many times can he make the same mistakes over and over and over again and still like have the confidence from higher up saying, yeah, you're doing a stand-up job, Aaron Boone? Like, I don't get it. I'm again, I'm at a loss for words about that report. Maybe it's all smoke and mirrors, but I mean, who knows? But I'll let you get to your point here.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because here's the records for Aaron Boone, right? 100 wins, 103 wins, 33 and 27 in the shortened season, not that great, whatever. 92 wins 2 years ago and 99 wins this year. All pretty good seasons. All pretty good seasons. That would be great, Andrew, if this was still year 2 or 3. Right? If you were pointing to regular season records and you were saying, "Hey, listen, this guy won 100 games with a team that should have won 88. That's great. Then he won 103 with a team that should have won 100. Great. He needs one more year. He needs 2 more years to try to get this playoff thing right." Now that's over, bro. It's been 5 seasons. Everybody's been clamoring for this guy to go since year 2, if not sooner, right? And I think a lot of Yankee fans were too soon to jump on that gun or jump the gun there, whatever the freaking phrase is, doesn't matter. They were too soon, right? And even though they were proven correct, you have to give a manager who has that type of success early a rope, a good leash, a healthy leash. Well, he got the healthy leash, and none of the things that were problems have changed. And I think part of it is it's different than most franchises across sports and across the country. A lot of times a GM has to save his own job. So what they do is they fire the coach first and say, well, that's not even the coach I hired, right? I got that coach when I started the job. I'm going to fire him, bring in my own guy, and he buys himself 3 more years, right? Like that's a classic football move. Classic. It happens in all sports. With the Yankees, those types of situations don't really exist because of the relationship that Cashman's built with the Steinbrenners and with this organization. He has enough clout to do whatever he wants, right? So he doesn't feel beholden to Aaron Boone. He doesn't feel beholden to even the fans for that matter. Like he doesn't care. He kind of operates in his own space and his own time. And that is becoming a problem. It's something that I didn't think was a problem because I always said I was the Met fan who sat over here and said, in Cashman, I trust. If that guy was my GM, I'd be thrilled. You have winners on the field every year. What are you complaining about, right? But then you hit the same wall over and over and over again. Something has to give. And at one point, he needs to feel the pressure of the fan base and the Steinbrenners and the rest of baseball passing him by. Because right now, the Astros and the Dodgers, who obviously lost earlier than them, are the Yankees, right? The Yankees are not the Yankees right now. It's the Dodgers. It's the Astros. The Mets want to be the Yankees more than the Yankees want to be the Yankees. And that's a problem. At some point, he has to be held accountable by somebody. And right now, he's not held accountable by anybody. And that's the telltale sign is that Aaron Boone will be back as manager. 5 years of hitting the same exact wall. If he doesn't see it, that's a problem. I've always said in Cashman I trust. It's harder to say that now as the same exact thing has happened 4 years in a row. I'll give him the first year, but 4 years in a row, we're in the same exact spot, talking about the same exact shortcomings.
And Aaron Boone doesn't learn from his mistakes. He still makes the same with the basically the season on the line and Garrett Cole at 95 pitches. You go to your arguably your fourth best reliever in that spot. Like the season's on the line. Where is the urgency from Aaron Boone? Where is the urgency from his managing style? There's no pulse of the game, and that's been his problem since day one. He has no feel for the actual game that's happening in front of him. And I don't know how many times the Yankees are going to lose a playoff series and say, okay, next time he'll be able to figure out, because when shit hits the fan, Aaron Boone doesn't know what to do. He does and that's a fact. And I was a defender of him, and I said, he won the 100 games. He's a he seemed to be great in the media, but the second his players started turning on him, the second, he continues to just get outmanaged by like a paper bag. And it's I don't know. I really just don't know. It
really does blow my mind though, because across all their sports, honestly, I'd say even most often in New York, perhaps, right? There's a carousel of coaching. And I understand not wanting to be one of those franchises. I understand wanting to have an establishment in your franchise. And that establishment, in theory, Cashman wants it to be Aaron Boone. But it ain't working. This is not Mike Tomlin, right? Like Mike Tomlin doesn't have to win another Super Bowl for 10 years for him to stay as the head coach of the Steelers, because he has had a winning record every year in football. He has won on the biggest stage. He has a ring, and he is putting that team above and beyond expectations every year when they're not even supposed to be in the playoffs. Boone did that once or twice. Great. Now when you
I don't even know when he's done it. Every time the Yankees
they were ahead of schedule, no? A little bit?
Yeah, well, he inherited a team, the Girardi team in 2017.
Right.
That's the team that was one game away from the World Series, and they haven't even
right. It was Girardi who was a year ahead. It wasn't even
Girardi
Boone.
was a year ahead. It wasn't even Boone. He got keys to a Ferrari and he drove it into a wall. And he couldn't parallel park the Ferrari. He was
what it is though? It's not even driving into a wall. It's hitting the same exact pothole on your way home from work every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's it's there. And all you have to do is just go swerve a little bit one way, swerve a little bit that way, maybe just slow down a little bit, and he hit the same pothole going 65 and a 55 Actually, he's going 45 and 55 because he makes cowardice moves.
Absolutely.
But like, it's just mind boggling. And I've never been. If you listen to this podcast, you are well aware that I have not been the one on here saying fire Boone, fire Cashman. It's not my MO. It's not how I typically operate. I root for a bunch of teams that can't keep a coach, that can't keep a GM. And when I see a team that wins 100 games all the time, is in the playoffs all the time, I want that to stay alive. If I'm that team, and maybe you'll say, oh, it's a loser mentality. You root for the Mets and the Knicks. Maybe you're right. But guess what? Tom Thibodeau had a great year 1. Year 2, not so hot. Year 3, off to an okay start. If he's not back close to year 1, Tom Thibodeau, he will have 1 year left on his opportunity. That's it. His leash will run out after 4 years. That's how it works across all sports. The 5-year window makes perfect sense. It is time for almost all of these players to hear a new voice. It is time for all Yankee fans to hear a new voice like 3 years ago, but it's especially time now. So I don't know what more else there is to say about Aaron Boone. It's just sad at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing was, he was, heralded as this great communicator, as this person who would be able to get the most out of his players. And I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast. Every single young player who was a part of that core who came up, regressed to basically being nothing. The Gary Sanchez's, the Clint Frazier's, to guys taking. The only person that has even kept to their potential is Aaron Judge, and he's a generational talent. Everybody else has gone backwards. So whatever communicating that Aaron Boone apparently is great at the results have not transitioned to the field, and that's what matters. That the results matter. The process. If you're okay, let's say this happened year 1, and you say he's a great communicator. The results weren't there. Bad luck. Fine, whatever. Year 2, yeah. Year 3, year 4. We're on year 5 of these results not coming through. It's like your process sucks. Then it's not your process is terrible. You can't herald yourself as this great communicator, and you have a great process to get the most talent out of your players when you're constantly falling on your face. You're constantly getting embarrassed by teams who are just better than you and all facets of the game, whether it's the front office, whether it's scouting, whether it's player development, whether it's every single aspect of the game, the Yankees are behind the ball on. And I don't know what else there is to do. And I don't know how you can sit there and say, let's do this year 6. Let's do this.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's just like
pulling teeth at this point, dude. How is any Yankee fan going to show up inspired for the start of next season? How? Unless they make some splashy move, they bring back Judge, they make another splashy move that even though there's not really a lot of big free agents out there for this summer, or this not summer, but you know what I mean, off season.
Yeah.
And unless they make a trade, unless they bring in some real top tier talent, unless Volpe's on the opening day roster, batting second, looking like an absolute savage. Where's the inspiration coming from for this team? It's time for a new voice. And I'm always one to say, the grass is not always greener. Well, guess what? The grass is burnt, bro. The grass is yellow. There's patches. Your dog's been pissing all over the lawn. It's done. The grass is greener. And if it's not, you're in the same spot you are today. Because right now, the Yankees are the Oakland Athletics. That's who they are. They're the Oakland A's. Analytics getting them to 95 wins every year. Fantastic. Not that the A's that for that long, but they did it for a stretch of time. You know what I'm talking about. Moneyball and all that crap. That's what you are. You're the Oakland A's. You are a nice regular season team every year. And that is it. It is time. It is time. So let's talk about something else.
And it's just like, do you have confidence in Hal Steinbrenner opening up his checkbook to get those big free agents? Hell, to even re-sign Aaron Judge? That's going to be the biggest question.
That's our next conversation. So why don't you?
Yeah. So do you think they'll sign? Do you think that Hal Steinbrenner is going to open up his checkbook and give Aaron Judge $350 million for a 31-year-old player? I don't think so.
Man, I do think so. I do. Because I truly believe that Cashman has to be feeling at least like 10% more pressure than he was before. At least 10%. I'm not saying that he's scared for his job now, because I don't know if that's the GM you want running your team anyway. He's always operated with a sense of confidence that helped him win deals, but it's gone too far. The pendulum has swung too far in the other direction now, because now he's so afraid of losing a deal that he doesn't make deals, and he only makes these middling deals that
Yeah, for
marginally
option B's and C's instead of the clear option A's that are in front of you,
right.
and that'll make your team instantly better. You think you're smart enough, and you're not, and he's just not. It's so apparent. How many times are you going to trade for an Oakland A's starter that's going to come here and then regress and not be able to handle? You know, who's the other? You know, trade for Sean Manaea next, or who? I don't know what any other Oakland A's starters that are left. You're going to trade for another one that you're going to bring here and they're going to shit the bed like Frankie Montas and Sonny Gray. Like, it's just not. I
Let me ask you a
don't
question.
get it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Cashman was an early adapter of like the new age of baseball in like the early 2000s, late 2000s, whatever, mid 2000s,
Yeah,
mid
probably.
2010s?
Yeah,
Right?
probably.
I think so too. I think that's fair to say. He made some really big moves. He picked up some really good young players, some good pieces, some good deals, whatever. I think the league caught up to him and surpassed him, and he's doing the same thing that he wanted to do for the past 12 years, right? Ever since '09, it's been the same story, basically, right? It's been the same exact story of spinning the tires, waiting for a prospect that never comes and never becomes the guy. And I think the league caught up to him and doesn't want to deal with the Yankees that much because they know their history. They don't want to see them win. Everyone hates the Astros. No one likes the Yankees either, right? So it's not like everybody's out here saying, yeah, let's make a deal with the Yankees. Those work out great, right? So it's not like that is something that is in his favor either. I think the league has passed him a little bit, or at least caught up to him. And I do think he's going to have to feel just a little bit more pressure. And I think he has to be aware. He has to be aware that the Yankee fans will actually have riots, like if they don't bring back Judge. There will be an uproar if they don't bring back Judge. What does this team even look like without him? Without
They
him
don't make
this year,
they don't make the playoffs without Aaron Judge this year. Without 62 home run Aaron Judge, they do not. Maybe they're the 6th seed. Maybe.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
that's
And look, I'm here to hear the argument that it may not be wise to give him a 10-year deal right now or a 12-year deal. I can hear that argument and I can say you have great points. And I'll tell you right now, it don't matter. It don't matter because in reality, if you win a freaking championship by the time Aaron Judge is 35, it doesn't matter. You figure it out later. You figure it out. You're going to make more money. You're going to sell tickets. You're going to win, and it's going to be okay, right? Like same thing with Lindor. People were mad about the Lindor thing, and I get it. It could be a disaster in 8 years. It could be terrible. I get it. He might not be very good at the end of that contract. But guess what? If they are constantly an NLCS contender and they make a World Series and God forbid they win one, I don't care. Nobody will care. No one's going to say, I can't believe you gave Aaron Judge that contract. As long as you win, as long as you put a team out there that has a chance to actually compete with the best teams in your league. And right now, they clearly do not have that.
Yeah, and the thing is that like the window is only open. You know, Garrett Cole and Giancarlo Stanton and a bunch of other guys. They're only in their primes for Garrett Cole's like 31 years old. You're gonna get maybe 2 to 3 more peak seasons from Garrett Cole before he falls off a cliff. And he's probably still be a good pitcher, but he won't be an ace anymore. Giancarlo Stanton, you already see it this year. His on base percentage this year, I think it was like 290. Like he was still hitting with power, but again, he's injury prone. How many elite seasons does Giancarlo Stanton have left? Anthony Rizzo, he's 33 years old. He signed for next year, or he did his player option for next year. Like how long do you have? So you kind of have to sign him, and you worry about the back end of the contract. Afterwards. DJ LeMahieu's 35 years old, and he's injury prone. So it's like, and Josh Donaldson, God, I hope so badly that he's not on this team next year. So
He's locked in though, right? For a contract.
he's got one more year left on his deal. So I just hope just attach Volpe to him and to get him off this team. Just take him out of here. Oh yeah, not Volpe, but you know what I'm saying. Like
I know what you mean though. And again, I'm going to use other sport analogies here. Like look at all the teams that are succeeding in all sports, baseball, basketball, football. I don't know anything about hockey, but let's do that hockey. I'm sure that's the same concept. Like all the teams that are making Super Bowls, that are making NBA finals, are taking risks. And this team is so afraid to take a risk. Signing Aaron Judge is not a risk. This guy has been the surest thing in the league for the past 5 years. He's been one of the best players outside of his one more injury-prone season. He's been pretty healthy and pretty damn good, right? Like, yeah, he got banged up once or twice. Everyone does. Mike Trout gets banged up all the time. It is what it is. Think the Angels are regretting signing Mike Trout? No, it's the only thing they could freaking hang their hat on. That's a disgrace, right? Disgrace franchise. The Yankees, it's the least risky thing they can do is bring back Aaron Judge. Because if they don't, and they don't get some studs to replace him, it will not matter. You can win 92 games next year with a ragtag team of misfits, and Aaron Boone will be in the good graces again, and then they're going to hate him again when they lose in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, so let's say you let him walk, and then who do you sign? Trey Turner and Carlos Correa or somebody like that, and you go all in on, up the middle, which I mean wouldn't be the worst move in the world, but like, I don't know, the guy is the closest thing that the Yankees have had to Derek Jeter since he retired. So do you it's I think it's a little different than Robbie Cano. Robbie Cano was loved by the fan base, but he also wasn't beloved the way that Jeter and Judge are. So I don't know how you could theoretically let him walk away. But at the same time, if you're Brian Cashman, you can't let Aaron Judge hold up your off season at the same time. You can't be waiting around until February when teams are signing other players. And that's my biggest fear, is that they'll re-sign Aaron Judge and that'll be it. And they'll run out the same team and they'll dump Donaldson or something but they'll run out like a very similar squad. And clearly it's the offense is stagnant. There are players here that shouldn't be here, that are not starting caliber players on playoff teams. So that's my biggest fear, is that they hold off on signing Judge until January, February, and then all the other impactful players have passed them by. Very similar to the DJ LeMahieu offseason of like last year or 2 years ago, where they held out until January, and then all the backup players and all the other players were gone. So
right.
It's going to be very interesting, and I hope that they, at least if the Judge says I want to play the field, then you say fine, we're going to continue to move forward and plug in and
Right.
make the team better, because
there's no time to waste.
You can't wait for him. This team's not good enough. If he was the last piece, then fine, then you put your offseason on hold. Your team's not good enough. And that's the bottom line. The team is not good enough for you to wait on Aaron Judge all offseason. You need to address shortstop, whether you say, okay, Volpe or Peraza or somebody, one of the kids is going to be our starting shortstop. You can't throw IKF back out there. He's a stopgap of all stopgaps. I hated the move when they made it last offseason. I hated the Donaldson trade. Like, you have to improve other areas of this team. And clearly, if you want to punt catcher and say Trevino is – the best framer in the league, in which he is. If you want to punt, if you want to punt that position and say we're going all defense there, but you need offense in a lot of other places, and that you can't just depend on bounce backs from certain guys, because you're just not going to get it. They don't have it in them to do so. So if Aaron Judge wants to wait, then say sorry. We have to improve the team elsewhere, and that's a tough pill to swallow.
And here's the thing too, and this goes really to baseball as a whole. The way baseball is set up in general, with arbitration and these contracts that are rookie contracts that last forever, all the free agents are 30. Trey Turner's like the youngest free agent out there. He's 29, right? Like, you're going to give him a 10-year contract, and by the time he's 38, he ain't stealing 30 bags anymore, right? So like, what's the point here? If you're going to not sign Aaron Judge, you're just going to get a bunch of average players who are 30 to only sign to 3-year contracts to what? Just kick the tires down the road again, right? Like, who's a young free agent out there? They don't exist. So unless you make a big time trade for somebody like Juan Soto in San Diego, they traded for him, and now they're going to hopefully lock him up, or they did lock him up, right?
Yeah.
They did. So unless you trade for somebody who's young like that, There's nobody who's 26 who's a free agent. It doesn't exist. Only about 5 players a generation reach free agency at a young point of their lives, because most of these players make it up to the bigs when they're 24. And then naturally they get to free agency when they're 31. So what are you going to do? Look at these free agents right now. The top free agents based off expected market value: DeGrom, Verlander, Judge, Turner, Carlos Rodon, Kershaw, both wants to Turner. So what the hell's the point here? What are you going to do? You're going to sign someone else who's 30 for an 8-year contract, and then what? I don't get it. Xander Bogaerts, he's 30.
Yep.
What are you doing? Right? So I don't know. I don't even know what else to say, honestly. It doesn't make any sense to me. Does it?
A lot there. Yeah. There's I don't usually during the offseason you can say, oh, there's a clear path ahead for this team. There's a clear path for them to get better. And I just don't at this time. Maybe it's because the season ended so soon ago. I just don't know what that path is to like say, oh, they need this or oh, they need that. And it's just like they need so much help. They need so many things,
right,
to make them like an actual true championship contender, not just a team that can win 90, 92 to 97 games. So, and it's the murkiest and the cloudiest road I think I in recent memory for the Yankees for me. So
yeah,
I don't know. I really don't know what else to say about the offseason outlook here.
yeah. And frankly, the Mets is not much different. It's not.
No.
Both of these teams were older. They were both older, 2 of the older teams in all of Major League Baseball. So if that's the case and you're afraid of signing old players, then you might as well punt. And you might as well get rid of all the old guys. Trade Stanton. Get rid of Cole, right? If you're not going to re-sign Judge, what are you doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no Ewing theory happening here that when you don't bring back Judge, this team's all of a sudden going to be better and sneaky make a run. Nope, not going to happen. Look at the Phillies right now. They're a team that took on the Bryce Harper contract, went for it, full send, whether it was right or wrong. Guess what? They're in a freaking World Series because they signed other players who are older, because that's the only people available. Kyle Schwarber, Castellanos, like these guys.
They went all in on offense, and look where it got them. They got guys.
Even Zach Wheeler, they got Zach Wheeler. He's an older guy. He's not 25. These guys don't exist.
They overpaid, and at the time when they signed Zach Wheeler too, everyone was like, "Oh my god, 110 million for Zach Wheeler." And look who Zach Wheeler turned out to be. Zach Wheeler is an ace. He's an absolute ace of that team. It's incredible, man.
These players don't exist. The pie in the sky mentality with the Yankees front office, it doesn't exist. In basketball, players hit free agency when they're 26, 27 years old. In football, they hit free agency if they don't get franchise tagged when they're 27. It's different. It is not the same. Baseball, you have to get guys who are 30. It's the only way, unless you make big time trades. So if you don't get Judge, punt, rebuild. Look at the Astros. Look at what the team that you need to follow is right in front of you. George Springer, staple in that franchise. Carlos Correa, staple in that franchise. They said, okay, we're not resigning you. We have young guys to fill these roles. Let's do it. Rip the Band-Aid off, make it happen. And they've done it over and over.
They have great player development. And I will say to bring up the Mets real quick is that I feel a whole lot better as a Mets fan about the road you're going to go to, because you have 2 top 15 prospects that you can just plug into the lineup come 2023. So there's your youthful side. You have Francisco Alvarez and you have Beatty ready to go day one of the 2023 season. You have who's the other guy that they brought up? Vientos. So you have those guys right there. You have those useful top tier prospects. And the Yankees will put Anthony Volpe in AAA until August. Yeah. And then maybe they'll call him up. Maybe then.
Oh God.
It's incredible. It's
and
incredible.
Somehow they'll have 94 wins and pretend everything's fine next year. You know what? That's the biggest problem. This team, honestly, this team might need to bottom out.
Complacency. It's complacency. It's complacency across the board. It's the complacency from the manager, complacency from ownership, it's complacency from the front office. It's a complacency, and it's killed this franchise and their hopes of actually winning a World Series with this core. They either have to bottom out or they have to really pivot to something else. And I really don't see them pivoting, because why would you, if you can put in minimal effort and turn out a 90 something win team every year? That's just boring, and is going to lose. And you'd say, and you're throw up your hands and say, maybe we'll get lucky this year. And that's what they do.
And then you're the Twins.
Yep.
And then you're the
Yankees. I know what it's like to be a Twins fan when they face the Yankees. Just the utter hopelessness of your team being able to win the game. That's what it's like for the Yankees to win the Astros. We're the Twins. We are the Twins to the Astros Yankees. That's just a matter of fact.
I know that was like a little cough allergy situation right there, but it almost sounded like you were going to cry.
I go,
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one other thing to talk to you about real quick before we
sure.
And it's not as negative as a note, I don't think. So this is baseball wide. I just have a question for you. With this playoff format that ran out this year, do you have any suggestions or changes that you would like to see implemented to the extra wild card team, one of the division winners in that wild card round, the 3-game set, 5-game set, 7-game set? Is any of that to you need to be changed? Is it time for 7-game series in the DS and beyond? Like, because I think there's been some dialogue about it with the wild card situation and the DS being just a 5-game set this year. I'm just curious your thoughts if you thought this was good, bad, and different.
I think originally when we talked about expanded playoffs, I was like, if MLB just wants more games, then do a 3-game wild card series and a 7-game DS and CS. And that would be able to make it even tougher for those teams because again, the Phillies were able to get to the World Series, are able to get past because they were able to ride Zach Wheeler. They were able to ride their key bullpen guys because of off days, and they're able to ride Aaron Nola. So if you have like 5 to 6 like great pitches, you can carry those guys, can carry you to October. And it's really a matter of philosophy. Do you think the postseason is the way to judge what the best team in baseball is? Because I don't know if the Phillies are the best team in baseball, but they could certainly be the last team standing. If you want to say who the best team in baseball is over a 162 game sample, it's the Dodgers. But unfortunately, that's just not how it works. So it's how much credence you put into your philosophy on the postseason. If the postseason is supposed to be hottest team wins, then I think you keep the format the way it is. But if you really want it to be who is the best team in baseball, I think you have to make those adjustments and at least make those series a bit longer. But then at that point, you're going to be playing it in November if you're doing 7-game series or 5-game series for the wild card and 7-game series for the DS and the CS and the World Series. So you're going to be playing well into November then. So I don't know if that's in the cards or not. But one thing I would like to see is I would like to do the reseeding after each round. MLB didn't do that. So the Yankees we're playing the 6th and the 3rd seed, and the Astros were playing the 2 and the 3 and the 5 seed. Or it was 3 and 6, and then 4 and 5 were playing each other. So you should reseed after each round. So you're having, if you have that 1 seed, it's you have an easier path, I guess, to the World Series where you're not playing up against, teams that are closer to you. So it should mean something if you're the 1 or 2 seed. Aside from that, again, it's really about your philosophy on the postseason. If it's supposed to be a measure of truly who the best team is, then you have to make the games longer. But if you're a traditionalist and a purist, then I think you got to keep it the way it is. It's really up to pick your choice.
Well, if you're a traditionalist and purist, it's already flipped on top of its head anyway.
Oh, right? Yeah, absolutely.
With the extra teams. And what I think about it is it's a bit of a conundrum for baseball, right? Because with the 162 game season, it's an absolute grind, right? Every fan who's invested is invested for a huge chunk of their year, spending 162 nights and days with their team. That is supposed to matter. It should matter, right? And if you want that to matter, which the MLB does, they clearly are trying whatever they can do to make the regular season more entertaining on a national level because it's not there anymore, right? The Aaron Judge chase was the only thing that got remote national coverage outside of the occasional Shohei Ohtani segment on a random talk show, right?
Mhm.
Just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So that's the conundrum. Do you want to make the regular season matter more? Do you want to make the playoffs more likely to get the best teams in the biggest spots? Those are the two questions to me. I think if those are the things you care about, which are the things you should care about, then you might need to consider saying, okay, 162, we're going to have to give up some revenue here and hopefully make some more back in the playoffs. Knock it down to 150 or 152, just 10 games, nothing too crazy. And then
154 is what it used to be. So you can just
154,
not
there you go.
go back 8 games. Just knock
And
off 8 games.
I really think that makes a difference. And I know a lot of people who are baseball purists say, oh, well, the MLB playoffs are the best because it's unpredictable and, you know, every team has a chance and that's a beautiful thing. I don't think that really works, frankly. I don't. I think what the NBA playoffs has in their favor is that when there are superstar teams, they make it to the biggest stages at a higher rate. You don't see the Dodgers of basketball lose in the first round. Doesn't really exist. It happens every once in a while, and it's exciting. And that team loses in the next round, right? 8 seeds don't make the finals, and that's okay, in my opinion. That's okay, right? And maybe you should say that NBA needs to knock off 2 playoff teams. They're not going to do it, but you can make that argument, sure. With baseball, you want if to build this as a national sport again. You want your Dodgers, your Astros, your Padres, and not even act like the Padres are a big market. I'm just talking about big players, teams
Yeah.
with electricity on their roster. You want those players in the biggest moments. And year after year, you get at least one team that makes it when they probably shouldn't. I mean, not that they shouldn't because they won the games. I get it. But they are not the best representation of the best teams in the sport. And maybe that's baseball, Susan. I don't know. I don't know the answer. But I don't think that this like lovely fantastical idea about baseball playoffs, every team has a chance, actually correlates to bigger numbers, more excitement, better entertainment. I don't think it does. And I think the 7-game series would help that cause because guess what? The Phillies would have just as much of a shot in the 7-game series as they do in the 5, as they just proved when they won the NLCS. So if you can make the DS 7, I don't care about the wild card. That's fine for 3 for me, or make that one 5 now if you knock off the 8 games. That should be the goal. Get the best teams, the best product on the field when it matters most. Because guess what now? This is what happens this year again. The Astros and the Phillies are in the World Series. No one outside of Philadelphia really cares about the Phillies. Everyone hates the Astros, so you might get some hate watchers out there. And you kind of lose a lot of luster with this World Series. And you've had World Series in the past with the same exact concept. You get the Nationals in there, and who cares? You get the Royals in there, who cares? Right? And no offense to those teams made it. They weren't exciting teams. So I'm not even hating on the market. I'm just hating on the actual team. If I'm trying to think of like in basketball, like a correlation here. So like the Raptors, they made it with Kawhi Leonard. If it wasn't for Kawhi Leonard, that would have been abysmal. It would have been pathetic to watch that team in the finals. But because of one guy, the electricity was brought to the forefront. Different sport, I get it. Football is the only sport, truly the only sport that can have this March Madness Cinderella story mentality, and it actually means something because no one's going to care about the Phillies. No one cared about the Royals. No one cares about the Guardians right now because they're not that exciting. It's not about the market. It's about the team, and you want your best teams to have the best chance. So I'm for lowering the regular season, adding more to the postseason in the DS, and making it a little bit more, I don't want to say
just make it matter more. Just make it
right.
just
I don't
make
want
it
to say
just
more
make it a
true.
bet more have the correlation between the regular season and the postseason be that the best team. It's not just a crapshoot. and that it's
Right.
actually a representation of who the best teams are in baseball, and give those better teams the best opportunity to be there when it's all standing there, and reward them for being
Right.
able to having the depth and having the ability to
And going
outlast
7
other
is
teams
hard
in
too.
162.
Yeah,
Yeah,
going 7 is hard, right? Like,
yeah,
some people who are more baseball guys will say, "Oh, you don't want the Warriors and Cavs 4 years in a row." Guess what? Yes, you do. Yeah,
absolutely.
yes, you do. You may not like it as much in the moment, but you are locked in because by year 3, LeBron and the Cavs versus the Warriors was must-watch television for sports fans because it was enormous. It was huge. It was history. How many postseasons in baseball were exciting and fun, but not historic? For me, most of them over the past 10 years. And you can argue, oh, this one was great. This one was exciting. The one that actually sticks out in my mind is the Cubs, Guardian, or Indians at the
Yep.
time. That was historic. That was electric. That was two teams who were great all year with electric players in the biggest stage and played an awesome series. That should be the goal. It shouldn't be get to the playoffs. Anything could happen. The worst team that just got in with 84 wins has a chance, right? Like,
And that
yeah, it's a great
yeah,
story.
and that
No one
and
really
that
cares.
was my gripe between on this new playoff format is now teams are incentivized now to say, hey, we're an 80 low 80s team. Hey, we just might make it. Hey, you know, this is
Which
our
that's
shot.
good.
And it
That's good
does
for the
it
regular season.
that's great for the regular season, but it's you you can't incentivize mediocrity, and that is what expanded playoffs does. It incentivizes mediocrity, it incentivizes teams to not go for it, incentivizes the House Steinbrenners to say, hey, we don't need to resign Aaron Judge because even though a 90-win team will still get us into the playoffs. So what are
Right.
you gonna do?
Yeah. And it's
Um
not like baseball doesn't have a tanking issue, right? There's not really a big time tanking issue in baseball. In basketball and football, there's a tanking issue, right? Where teams bottom out in the first half and they say, screw it. We're going to be terrible this year and we're going to get a top draft pick. That doesn't really exist in baseball. It's not something that they're fighting, right? The
mm,
play in tournament for basketball actually incentivized those teams that would normally say, screw it. We'll punt the final 2 months of the season and just be a disaster and get a top 5 odds for our pick. Now the play-in tournament is telling the Sacramento Kings, yo, play your ass off all season. You have a chance to be in the playoffs. That's something your franchise hasn't done in a long time. Do they have any chance to win the finals? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's
mm.
okay. But they're going in a direction that's proper. Baseball doesn't have a tanking issue. Yeah, there are some teams who are sellers. There are teams that aren't going to be in the wild card round. They're not going to be in the playoffs. So they need to figure that out. They need to get that straightened out on what matters to them, what's supposed to matter to these teams, and how are teams supposed to strive for greatness when they have the Dodgers and the Astros, way better than everyone else. And everyone's like, oh, we have as good a chance because we're going to win 86 games and make the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just it's a really unfortunate situation, and hopefully something that MLB can look at. I mean, I'm not sure what they can do, because that's a collectively bargained, type of thing. But I hopefully that Theo Epstein and the people who are looking at rule changes and things like that see that the more games in the playoffs, it will help the better teams, and you want the best teams to be there. Yankees Dodgers World Series would blow the doors off of anything that the Phillies and the Astros are going to do, this year. So, I'm just sad overall that, my favorite television program is, something that I was watching every single day is now off the air for, 3.5 months. And,
Yep. And you're
so,
not even excited for next season.
nope.
and, and you know,
Now I have to come on the podcast and talk about She-Hulk, and I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do with my hands.
yeah,
It's
it's true. It's true. And man, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it anymore because it's one of those situations that's tough. And it sounds like as New Yorkers, we're being market people. Oh, New York is better than St. Louis. No, St. Louis could have been a great team this year too. if they made it. They would have been on the upper echelon, in my opinion, of teams to make the World Series because they have some really electric players and great talent. So it's not about market. It's about franchise. It's about the team. And that's why the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh can be a staple in the NFL because the franchise has earned that right? So no one's football. I get that. But baseball has to get something going in that regard. So I don't know what the hell's going to happen with that moving forward. But it does suck. It feels extra strenuous for baseball fans when their team goes out because of how much time you spend. With football, you spend 17 games with a team. 17. Yeah, you do all the weekly stuff and you hear about injuries and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I don't know if they can figure that one out. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been an absolute pleasure to talk baseball with you this year, and hopefully we can talk some Marvel stuff during the off season. So I'm not I don't go 3 months without being on the podcast, but if it is, thank you for coming along with me and coming along with us on this baseball season, and look forward to talking to you guys. Talking to you and Alec and everybody else, and talking to Hot Stove, and hopefully in a couple weeks. So
the lukewarm stove.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, and we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in just a few weeks. Got a trailer for Ant-Man Quantum and the Wasp: Quantumania. Got a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. All right, maybe we're cooking back to a point of MCU where it's going to be a little more exciting. I'm starting to feel the juice a little bit, Drew. Are you feeling the juice a little bit?
I didn't see the holiday trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, but Quantumanium looked great. Obviously Kang and Jonathan Majors is that's super exciting. So I'm not sure I'll be able to make it to the movie theater. Wakanda Forever. My daughter will be like 4 days old when the movie comes out, so I don't think I'll be making it. I'll catch it on Disney Plus though. So hype for that.
Good business decision by you.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. Thank you for listening. Baseball season is over for us. And I got to say this last thing. 5 days between the CS and the World Series. Disaster.
Yeah,
I know,
absolutely.
it's a scheduling thing. And it's not really in their control wholly. But both of those series are over. And now baseball fans are sitting on their thumbs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the World Series to start. What are we doing? I don't even know when it's happening. I do know when it's happening. It's on Friday, obviously, but I don't care. I'm not thinking about it. I have no interest in it because 5 days between the NLCS, ALCS, and the World Series. What's going on? What's going on?
You got to have the ability to pivot when stuff
Both
changes.
teams, and yeah.
Who's running this scheduling? Is Aaron Boone running the scheduling? The inability to pivot when things come up? I don't understand. And I brought it full circle.
There we go.
Let's go.
All right. We were supposed to finish at 40-minute mark. Here we are at almost an hour. So that's what we do on Subway Sports Talk.
We always do it that way. Let's keep it a tight 15. Hour and 20 minutes later. Here we are.
There you go. Andrew Calagna @_Sparles Barkley. Good luck to you, my friend, with your moves and your children. Tell Jack we said hello. And hopefully by the time Jack's, of age to start remembering a lot of these sports stuff, the Yankees figure something out.
Yeah, I hope so too, my friend.
All right. Subway Sports Talk, talking basketball as well. Cheers.
Take it easy.